Hi, my name is Reni. I'm a pagan from the beautiful country of Holland, and today I want to welcome you to a very wintry day in the east of the Netherlands. The fields are nice and white, everything is freezing, about -3, -4 now. All the Dutch people are getting ready to polish their skates to go ice skating tomorrow. It's a good winter, it's a good fun. The topic of today's video is giants. They're an intriguing bunch because they feature quite a lot in Nordic mythology, but they're never really given an explanation, like what they are exactly. I mean, sometimes they are in conflict with the gods, the Aesir and the Vanir gods. Does that, some people say, like, does that make them like the anti-gods? Are they like competing with the gods? That's maybe a bit too simple. So if you want to understand the giants and what they are, because these mythological tales, often they have a very deep and profound meaning. And that deep and profound meaning was put there deliberately by the people who wrote these myths, because they wanted to impart their wisdom to future generations. So here we are, many centuries later, the year being the end of 2022, and we're trying to get that knowledge from way back and put it on the internet for you. We look at the myths in which giants feature. There's one famous myth where Thor loses his hammer. Well, he didn't so much lose it. A giant named Thrym stole his hammer. He wakes up, he's all pissed, he blames Loki, because why wouldn't you? But it's not Loki, it's a giant named Thrym. And the giant says, you can have the hammer back, but in exchange I want Freya's hand in marriage. So he has to dress up like Freya and, deceive the giant till he can get the hammer, and then he can put the hammer to the face of the giant and defeat it. So in this story, the gods are fighting with the giants. But there's another story where the god Frey, or Freyr, sits on Odin's throne, and he sees everything, because that's what you get on Odin's throne. And he just sees a giantess, which is so beautiful that he falls madly in love, and he ends up giving his sword in able to marry this giantess. So these two stories, they don't really help at all, because on the one hand, they're fighting the giants, and on one hand, they're fucking the giants. Like, which one is it? You know? Funny thing is, when I was researching this video, we have like the Norse myths, but you also have the Norse sagas. And if you read the Volsung saga about the Volsung bloodline, that there's actually, in their bloodline, there's a female giant, a Jotun is there. So apparently it's not just gods who have sex with giants, apparently it's also some humans, which conjures up a lot of questions for me, like how do you fuck a giant? Do you need a ladder to get up there? Just me being too practical, probably. And we shouldn't be too practical, because I think these stories are very metaphorical. There's also the story of Skadi, a giantess who ends up marrying Njord. So there's lots of things going on. And what we often do when we read these stories, we think in a Western way. And we think in a very simplistic way. We think in a kind of Christian way, in the sense that who are the good guys, who are the bad guys? Well, life isn't like Hollywood. Things are much more complex, and I think the Nordic myths show us that. I think if we really want to understand the giants, what we need to do is we need to go back, way back, to the origin of the universe, to one of the very first tales in Nordic mythology. Because the first giant, the big daddy of all the giants, is Ymir. All the giants came from him. Now, if you're a logical individual, you might start asking questions. Wait a minute. It's a giant. There's only one. And everything came from him. How is it possible? Well, Ymir was like a hermaphrodite. He could reproduce without somebody else involved. So that's, I think, is a big hint about what the nature is of the giants in Norse mythology. Another big hint, what's always a big hint, is its name, Ymir. It translates to the screamer. So, what could that mean? Well, first of all, what is it to scream? Screaming is the raw emotion that's not yet words. What does it mean if you're like a hermaphrodite? What does it mean that you're not male, that you're not female, that you're both? I think what Ymir and what all giants who came after him represent is the unknown, the potential. In the first myth, Odin, Vili, and Ve, they killed Ymir because he was creating too much offspring. And from Ymir, they made the world that you see today. I have a whole separate video of that. I will link that in the description if you want to hear that first myth and the meaning of the myth. But they used it to make the whole world. So a giant represents the unknown chaos in the world that must be confronted, which must be danced with, to bring into light a new world. So if you are going in a direction in your life which is very much unknown, maybe you travel to an unknown place, maybe you start a new job and you learn a new skill that you know nothing about, that is your giant. That is your Ymir. That is your screamer. Not only because probably it will make you scream out of frustration trying something new, because if you try something new, you're always very bad at it. But it's this unknown force that you can use, and you can use as the building blocks for a new life. Just as the Aesir and the Vanir gods confront the giants, and the giants give them something that they need. I think that is the lesson of the giants in Norse mythology. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go back inside where it's nice and warm, and I'm going to go polish my ice skates so I can also, like the rest of the country, start skating tomorrow. And I'll see you next week.